She walked in confidently, let her clothes slip off, and kissed me hard. Delegates from dozens of star systems had gathered, their alien forms and strange colors filling the massive space with a subtle hum of unease. Humans were not considered major players here. They were observers, small in number, often overlooked, and rarely listened to. Yet today, everything was about to change. Commander Alara stepped through the doors. She moved with confidence that was almost tangible. Her uniform, simple by human standards, fit perfectly, and her posture radiated authority. Every delegate, no matter how exotic, turned their heads. A soft murmur spread through the room. Even the council chair, a tall, crystalline being with eyes like refracted light, paused mid-speech. It was not disrespect. They had simply never seen a human enter a room with such certainty. Alara did not look around. She did not wave or smile. She walked straight to the center of the chamber, her boots clicking on the polished floor. The room seemed to shrink around her, not because of her size, but because of her presence. She stopped in front of the main console and placed her hands firmly on it. "Good morning," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "I am Commander Alara of the Terran Fleet. I have something to show you that will affect all of our systems. I ask for your attention." The murmur grew into a low buzz of curiosity. Few humans had ever been allowed this close, and fewer still had dared speak directly to the council without a prearranged speech. Alara had none of that. She had no scripts. She had her knowledge, her confidence, and the proof of what humans could do. The council remained silent, but eyes were fixed on her. The holographic console flickered to life under her fingers, projecting images and graphs into the air. Energy flows from multiple star systems appeared, tangled and unstable, showing decades of neglect and inefficiency. "Our galaxies are on the edge of a crisis," Alara said, moving smoothly between the data streams. "The energy networks that power your worlds are failing. If we do not act now, billions will suffer. Humans have developed a solution, an adaptive energy matrix that can stabilize these flows and increase output by 40%. Gasps and whispers ran through the room. Delegates exchanged glances. Some faces, hidden behind masks or scales, expressed disbelief. Others revealed hope, but no one spoke yet. They watched as Alara continued. She activated another sequence. Simulations filled the chamber, showing star systems stabilizing, planets receiving energy, and resources being balanced across the galaxy. The images were clean, precise, and undeniable. "We tested this matrix on the Terran system for 5 cycles," she said. "It worked perfectly. No disruptions, no loss of life, no resource drain. Humans are willing to share the technology with any civilization that follows the Council's safety protocols." The Council chair leaned forward, its crystalline hands tapping together. "Commander Alara," it said, "you speak with confidence, but humans have rarely been involved in our energy networks. How can we trust your claims?" Alara met its gaze steadily. "I understand your caution, but I have brought the complete blueprints, simulations, and live data. You may assign any team from the Council to verify our work immediately. Time is critical. If we wait for weeks of debate, systems will fail." A delegate from the Xyler system hissed, its 4 eyes narrowing. "Your species is young," it said. "You have no experience with interstellar energy. Why should we believe you?" Alara smiled slightly, but it was not the kind of smile meant to charm. It was a smile that showed determination. "Experience comes from action, not observation. Humans may be young, but we have faced crises that others could not solve. This is one of them." Another human in the delegation, Lieutenant Ryan, stepped forward, adding his own data to the console. Together, they showed detailed simulations of potential failures, solutions, and risk assessments. The aliens leaned closer, inspecting every detail. It was clear that humans had done their homework and they were not afraid to act boldly. Time passed. The murmurs grew louder, questions started to form, and some delegates even began to nod. Alara's presence, combined with her precise demonstration, had shifted the energy in the room. Humans were no longer observers, they were challengers, and the Council was watching closely. Then, without warning, the chamber lights flickered. A low rumble shook the floor beneath them. The holographic displays wavered. The Council's main energy reactor, used to simulate interstellar energy flows for planning and testing, had begun to destabilize. Panic rippled through the room. Alien delegates barked orders to one another in languages most humans could not understand. Alara did not move. She crouched slightly, placed her hands on a secondary console, and began issuing commands. Her voice was calm, clear, and sharp. Stabilize the reactor at 30% output. Reroute auxiliary power from sectors 7 and 9. Engage adaptive dampeners. A delegate tried to argue, to insist on waiting for the council chair's orders, but Alara cut through the hesitation. There is no time. If we delay, systems will collapse. Trust me. Her fingers flew over the controls, her mind processing data faster than anyone around her could follow. The human brain, so often underestimated, worked differently. Pattern recognition, improvisation, and intuition all combined into rapid problem-solving. Slowly, the reactor stabilized. The lights stopped flickering. The rumble faded. A silence fell over the chamber. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, a ripple of whispers spread as delegates realized what had just happened. A single human had prevented a disaster that could have crippled multiple star systems. The council chair's voice broke the silence. "Commander Alara," it said, "your actions have saved lives and preserved our simulations. You have demonstrated not only knowledge but courage." Alara nodded respectfully. "I am only doing what is necessary." Humanity seeks to work with all species to ensure the stability and prosperity of our galaxy. Some aliens began to step forward, asking questions, wanting to understand more. The Xyler delegate, who had been so skeptical moments before, now observed in quiet amazement. Alara had not only shown humans' intelligence, but also their courage under pressure. By the time the chamber reconvened fully, the energy in the room had shifted. Delegates were talking openly to the human representatives. They asked for advice, shared concerns, and even invited humans to join collaborative teams. What had once been a room full of doubters was now a place of opportunity. Alara stood at the center, calm and composed, aware of the attention she commanded. She had not raised her voice, had not forced respect. She had earned it through action, precision, and confidence. This was what humans did best. They faced challenges directly, thought quickly, and acted boldly. As the meeting drew to a close, the council chair approached. Its form shimmered slightly, an expression of admiration evident even in its alien structure. "Humans have potential beyond what we imagined," it said. "You have our attention, Commander. Let us see what more you can accomplish." Alara nodded, knowing this was only the beginning. Humanity had always been underestimated. But today, they had taken their first real step into the galaxy, showing not just survival, but ingenuity, courage, and a willingness to act when others hesitated. The doors of the chamber closed behind her, but the whispers of admiration and curiosity followed. The galaxy would remember this day, and it would remember the humans who walked in confidently and changed the room, not through force, but through knowledge, skill, and daring. And for the first time, humans were not just participants in the council. They were a force to be reckoned with. The chamber doors had barely closed behind Commander Alara when she felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down on her. The council's reaction had been more than she expected. Humans were no longer just observers. They were now a species that could influence interstellar decisions. But with influence came responsibility, and Alara knew the real test had only just begun. Outside the council chambers, the Terran delegation gathered around her. Lieutenant Ryan's eyes were wide, his fingers tapping nervously against the console. "Commander," he said, "you really think they will let us take part in the energy stabilization teams?" "They've never trusted humans before." Alara's expression was calm but determined. "They may not trust us fully yet," she replied, "but they cannot ignore what we did today. Action speaks louder than years of hesitation. If we continue to act boldly and show results, we will earn their respect." The delegation was small, only 5 humans, but each had been trained to think fast and adapt. Unlike some alien species, humans relied not on centuries-old traditions or rituals, but on ingenuity and problem-solving. That flexibility, Alara knew, was their greatest strength. A notification blinked on her wrist console. A holographic map of nearby star systems appeared, highlighting areas where energy instability was critical. Several systems were on the brink of blackouts, and the Council had assigned human teams to assist immediately. This was their first real mission beyond the Terran system. Alara's heart quickened. This was not just a test, it was the beginning of humanity's rise as a key player in the galaxy. She tapped a few controls, sending updates to the teams she had chosen. Engineers, analysts, and navigators, all young humans with the courage to face uncertainty. The first destination was the Zathra system, a collection of 5 planets orbiting a binary star. The system's energy network had been failing for decades, and previous interventions by other species had been slow and ineffective. Alara's team had less than 24 hours to stabilize the network before major outages could occur. The ship's engines hummed as it left Terran orbit. The viewports showed stars stretching into streaks of light, and for a moment the humans allowed themselves to marvel at the galaxy. Even Lieutenant Ryan, who was usually all focus, whispered, "It's beautiful out here." Alara smiled faintly but remained focused. "We'll have time for marveling later. Right now, we have a system to save." As they entered the Zathra system, the problems became immediately clear. Planetary sensors indicated unstable energy readings, flickering between dangerously high and low levels. The first planet, Zathra Prime, was a hub of industrial activity, with cities dependent on constant energy flow. Power surges had already caused blackouts in several districts. Alara activated the ship's projection array, showing her team a holographic model of Zathra Prime's energy grid. "We need to stabilize the core reactor first," she said. "Once the reactor is stable, we can reroute energy to the affected districts." Lieutenant Ryan raised a concern. "The Council recommended against human intervention here. They said the system is delicate and requires alien oversight." Alara's gaze was steady. "Delicate does not mean impossible. We've prepared for this. Trust your training and follow my lead. Hesitation will cost lives." The humans deployed to the surface via rapid descent pods. The landscape of Zathra Prime was a mix of towering structures and sprawling industrial zones. Smoke rose from malfunctioning reactors, and automated systems struggled to keep up. Alien engineers who had been working for years had made some improvements, but the scale of the problem required bold action, something humans excelled at. Alara took the lead, walking confidently through the corridors of the main reactor. She quickly assessed the damage: unstable conduits, misaligned energy regulators, and a failing cooling system. Alien engineers stepped back, unsure of her methods. Humans did not follow the same cautious procedures. They acted decisively, improvising solutions based on observation and instinct. With her team, Alara replaced faulty conduits, recalibrated regulators, and implemented temporary stabilization protocols. Each action required coordination, quick thinking, and confidence in their own judgment. Alien engineers began to watch, some skeptical, others amazed, as the humans worked faster than anyone had thought possible. By the third hour, the reactor's output began to stabilize. Energy readings leveled, and the flickering lights in the city started to return to normal. Citizens watched from their windows, curious about the strange humans who had arrived to save their system. A low murmur of approval spread, first from the city, then from the alien engineers assisting the team. Alara did not pause. She turned to her team. "Now we reroute energy to the secondary grids. This will prevent cascading failures on the other planets." They moved quickly, deploying additional stabilization devices across Zathra Prime. Each device required careful placement and synchronization. Ryan and another human engineer handled the most delicate tasks, connecting the devices to the main grid. Their hands moved with precision, guided by logic and instinct, as alarms occasionally blared and systems attempted to resist the intervention. Hours passed, and as night fell over Zathra Prime, the energy network reached a stable state. Lights glowed steadily, and the hum of machinery returned to a calm rhythm. The city's inhabitants cheered quietly from the streets, unsure of who to thank but grateful nonetheless. The alien engineers approached Alara. One with skin that shimmered like liquid metal bowed respectfully. "Humans," it said, "your methods are unorthodox but effective. We underestimated your species. The system is stable thanks to your guidance." Alara nodded. "We all share the same goal. Survival and progress do not belong to one species. They belong to all of us." As they prepared to move to the next planet, a new challenge emerged. Sensors detected a rogue energy surge approaching from the outer planets, likely a remnant of the unstable network. If it reached Zathra Prime, it could undo all their work. Without hesitation, Alara devised a plan. "We will create a buffer field around the city using the remaining energy stabilizers. It will absorb the surge and protect the network." Ryan, I need you to coordinate the timing with me. The team worked quickly, positioning the devices and activating the field. The surge approached, a wave of raw energy traveling faster than expected. Alarms blared, but Alara remained calm. She monitored the field's integrity, adjusting settings on the fly. The surge hit the buffer, and for a tense moment, everything shook. Then the readings stabilized. The field held, absorbing the excess energy. Zathra Prime was safe. The team let out a collective sigh of relief. Even the alien engineers smiled, impressed by the humans' ability to think under pressure. Alara addressed her team. This is what it means to act boldly. We cannot wait for approval or consensus when lives are at stake. Confidence, preparation, and action are our greatest strengths. The humans returned to their ship, exhausted but proud. As they lifted off, the cities below glowed warmly, a reminder of the lives they had protected. For Alara, this was more than a mission. It was proof that humanity could not only survive in the galaxy but thrive and lead when necessary. On the bridge, she looked at the holographic map. Several more systems required attention, each with its own challenges. Some were delicate, others chaotic, and some had been abandoned due to perceived danger. Humans would be the difference. Ryan approached her. "Commander, do you think they'll really trust us after this? The Council, I mean." Alara's gaze was steady, her eyes reflecting the stars outside. "Trust is earned, not given. Today we earned it in one system. Tomorrow we earn it in another. And the day after we prove that humanity is not just capable, it is essential." The stars stretched into streaks of light as the ship jumped to warp speed, leaving Zathra Prime behind. Alara's mind raced, planning for the next challenge. There were systems on the brink of collapse, species counting on help, and a galaxy that still underestimated humans. But now she knew something crucial. Humans had the courage, intelligence, and boldness to rise above any challenge. And the galaxy would watch as humanity continued to prove it. The stars streaked past as Commander Alara's ship sped through the void, leaving the Zathra system behind. The success there had been a major victory, but Alara knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and while one system had been saved, countless others teetered on the edge of disaster. She leaned over the console, studying the map. Several neighboring systems showed unstable energy readings, but one system in particular caught her attention, the Meridian Cluster. It was a dense region of space, crowded with planets, moons, and asteroid belts. For decades, attempts to stabilize the cluster had failed. Alien engineers had abandoned it, citing its unpredictability. If the energy network there collapsed, the ripple effects would spread far beyond its borders. The Council had debated it for years, yet no one dared intervene. Alara turned to her team. "This is our next assignment," she said. "The Meridian Cluster. Others have failed, but we won't. We act where others hesitate." Lieutenant Ryan's brow furrowed. "Commander, the Council warned us about that system. It's dangerous, unpredictable. Some say it's cursed." Alara smiled faintly. "Unpredictable does not mean impossible. We rely on skill, preparation, and courage, not luck. The galaxy respects results, not excuses." The ship entered the cluster, and the crew immediately saw why others had abandoned it. Energy readings fluctuated wildly, with massive surges followed by deep drops, threatening planetary cores and orbital systems alike. The visuals on the display showed glowing arcs of uncontrolled energy stretching across the planets like veins of fire. Alara studied the patterns. "This is complex," she said, "but nothing humans cannot solve. We will approach this step by step. First, we identify the core instability source. Then, we stabilize it. Finally, we implement a distribution network that can handle future fluctuations." The crew nodded, determination in their eyes. These were humans who had trained for emergencies, but nothing could fully prepare them for the Meridian Cluster. Still, under Alara's leadership, hesitation was not an option. The team deployed to the surface of Meridian Prime, the largest planet in the cluster. Its cities were vast, built into the mountains and valleys, and illuminated by flickering energy nodes. The surface hummed with the unpredictable pulse of unstable power. Alien engineers had tried to manage the energy flows, but their systems had failed. Alara stepped out of the transport pod, her boots sinking slightly into the strange, metallic soil. She surveyed the environment, massive conduits, glowing energy channels, and reactors struggling to maintain stability. She did not flinch. "Spread out," she ordered. Identify all active nodes and mark the ones at immediate risk. Ryan, take the northern sector. I'll handle the central grid. The rest of you monitor and support. The humans moved swiftly, scanning, analyzing, and tagging critical points. The energy here was volatile. Even a small mistake could trigger a chain reaction. Alien observers watched from a distance, clearly nervous about human methods. But humans did not hesitate. They adapted, improvised, and acted decisively. Within an hour, Alara identified the main source of instability, a massive energy reactor deep within the central city. It had been improperly calibrated for decades, and its conduits were misaligned with the planetary grid. If it failed, the entire system would collapse. Alara addressed the team. This reactor is the heart of the problem. We stabilize it, and the rest will follow. We work fast, precise, and coordinated. Remember, we are not just repairing machines, we are protecting lives. The humans descended into the reactor facility. The corridors were vast and humming with erratic energy pulses. Sparks flew from malfunctioning panels, and warning alarms blared intermittently. Alien engineers had left tools and systems in a state of semi-abandonment, relying on manual overrides that only increased risk. Alara moved confidently to the main control console. She quickly assessed the wiring, noting areas where conduits were misaligned or overloaded. The reactor's core temperature fluctuated dangerously, threatening to overload the cooling systems. She tapped a few commands, initiating a sequence of preliminary stabilization protocols. Lieutenant Ryan followed her instructions precisely. Commander, the secondary nodes are overloading. If we adjust them, it might trigger a feedback loop. Alara glanced at the readings. We have to take that risk. The alternative is total collapse. Activate the auxiliary dampeners and reroute the excess flow into the temporary storage units. We can stabilize after the core is secure. The team worked with precision, adjusting conduits, recalibrating energy regulators, and monitoring the core's performance. Sparks flew and the floor shook from the reactor's fluctuating output, but humans pressed on, calm and focused. After tense minutes, the core began to stabilize. The energy pulses became regular, the alarms quieted, and the reactor's temperature normalized. The humans had achieved what no alien team had been able to do for decades. Alara did not relax. Now we handle the distribution network, she said. We can't just fix the core, we need a system that prevents future collapse. The team spread out across the city, implementing a grid of stabilizers, regulators, and feedback loops. They worked through the night, coordinating via holographic displays and real-time data streams. Alien engineers began assisting, learning human methods as they watched. By dawn, Meridian Prime's energy grid was fully stabilized. Cities glowed steadily, and the hum of machinery had returned to a calm rhythm. Citizens emerged from their homes, astonished at the humans who had arrived and restored balance where others had failed. Alara gathered her team. This is what humans do, she said. We face challenges others avoid. We adapt, think, and act. Today we proved that determination and skill are stronger than fear. As they prepared to leave the planet, a new complication emerged. Sensors detected a massive energy surge heading from a nearby star. It was a natural solar flare, but if it struck the planets unshielded, it could undo all their work. Alara quickly devised a plan. We'll create temporary energy shields using the stabilizers we installed. Ryan, coordinate the timing. The rest, deploy the devices along the planetary grid. The team moved rapidly, positioning stabilizers and activating shielding fields. The solar flare arrived, a wave of pure energy crashing toward the planet. The shields absorbed the impact, bending and redirecting the energy safely into the planetary grid. Alarms blared, lights flickered, but the system held. The humans exhaled, exhausted but triumphant. Even alien observers were impressed. One of the Meridian engineers with translucent skin that shimmered under the planet's light approached Alara. We thought this system was impossible to stabilize, it said. You have proven otherwise. Humans, your species has remarkable courage and skill. Alara nodded. It is not just courage, she said. It is preparation, observation, and the willingness to act when others hesitate. That is what makes humans capable. The team returned to the ship, tired but satisfied. They had saved not just one planet, but an entire cluster from potential disaster. The mission reinforced what Alara already knew. Humans could rise to challenges that others feared, not by luck or technology alone, but by confidence, ingenuity, and teamwork. On the bridge, Alara studied the star map. Several more unstable systems were scattered across the cluster, each presenting its own challenges. Some were delicate, some chaotic, and some had been abandoned for decades. Yet with every mission, humans were earning respect. Ryan looked at her, admiration clear in his eyes. "Commander, do you think we can do all of them? The Council might not have enough trust yet." Alara's gaze was steady, reflecting the distant stars. "We don't wait for trust, we earn it. One system at a time, one problem at a time. Humans have never been afraid to act when action is needed. That is why we succeed." The ship jumped to warp speed, heading toward the next unstable system. Outside the viewport, stars stretched into streaks of light, a reminder of the vast challenges ahead. But for Alara and her team, there was no fear, only resolve. They were humans, bold, clever, and unyielding. And the galaxy would learn, system by system, that when humans acted, even the impossible could be achieved. And with that thought, Alara smiled faintly. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as a minor species, not as bystanders, but as leaders capable of changing the course of entire civilizations. The universe was vast, and challenges awaited everywhere. But for the first time, humans were ready to meet them head-on. The Meridian cluster was far behind, yet its lessons remained fresh in Commander Alara's mind. Her team had proven that humans could stabilize even the most unstable systems, earning cautious respect from alien species who had doubted them. But the galaxy was vast, and there were challenges far greater than mere energy fluctuations. Intelligence reports indicated a system on the outer rim, Violen Prime, where a chain of supernova remnants threatened multiple inhabited planets. Alara stared at the display, her fingers tracing the paths of deadly radiation waves spreading through the cluster. "This system is not just unstable," she said, her voice steady. "It is a disaster waiting to happen. If we do not act, millions of lives could be lost." Lieutenant Ryan leaned over her shoulder. "Commander, this isn't just energy stabilization." "The supernova remnants, they can't be controlled, can they?" Alara shook her head. "We cannot control them, but we can protect the planets. That is enough. Humans do not always change the stars themselves. We change what happens around them." The team prepared for the mission, analyzing planetary orbits, radiation levels, and environmental conditions. Unlike the previous missions, where humans directly stabilized energy networks, this task would require strategy, creativity, and teamwork on an unprecedented scale. The Terran ship entered Violen Prime system. The first glimpse was breathtaking and terrifying. Glowing clouds of ionized gas stretched across space, punctuated by the fiery remnants of exploded stars. Energy readings fluctuated wildly, with pulses capable of stripping atmospheres and crippling infrastructure. Alien scientists who had monitored the system for decades had failed to create a solution, calling it hopeless. Alara activated the projection array, displaying a 3D map of the system. "We will build protective fields around the planets," she said. "They must absorb and redirect the radiation bursts. We will work with local engineering teams to implement a layered defense. Timing and coordination are critical." The first planet, Violen Prime I, was a hub of civilization. Cities sprawled across continents, powered by reactors designed to survive minor cosmic disturbances, but nothing on this scale. The humans descended in transport pods, stepping onto a planet humming with residual radiation. Alien engineers had prepared basic shielding structures, but the timing of supernova bursts made them largely ineffective. Alara moved with confidence, assessing the situation immediately. "We need dynamic shields, not static ones," she said. "Energy flow must be rerouted in real time, adapting to radiation surges. Humans have a skill for improvisation under pressure." "Let's show them what that means." Lieutenant Ryan took charge of deploying mobile shield generators, while Alara coordinated with alien engineers to link the devices into a network. Each generator required precise placement to cover vulnerable areas while avoiding energy overlap, which could destabilize the field. As the first wave of radiation approached, alarms blared. The shields flickered, struggling to absorb the energy. Alara's mind raced. "Ryan, increase output by 15%. Redirect auxiliary energy from the southern sectors. Keep the feedback loop stable." The humans worked quickly, adjusting outputs and recalibrating shields. Alien engineers watched in awe as the team coordinated, sometimes without speaking, anticipating each other's moves. When the radiation wave struck, the shields held. The city trembled but remained intact. Alara knew this was only the beginning. Multiple planets required similar protection, each with its own environmental challenges. Violen Prime II had an extremely thin atmosphere, requiring shields to cover larger areas and compensate for the lack of natural protection. Humans deployed drones equipped with adaptive shielding devices, while alien engineers monitored performance from control stations. Despite careful preparation, challenges emerged. Radiation pulses were unpredictable, and some generators began to overload. Alara acted decisively. Disconnect the overloaded units. Reroute their power to the remaining generators. We cannot let one failure cause a chain reaction. The team executed her instructions flawlessly. Ryan adjusted the field calibrations while other humans stabilized the feedback loops. Slowly, the protective network expanded across the planet, absorbing the energy surges and shielding cities from destruction. By the second planetary deployment, a larger issue appeared. The supernova remnants were interacting with the planet's magnetic field, creating unpredictable energy spikes. Alien engineers were baffled, unable to predict the next pulse. Alara studied the data. "We cannot predict it perfectly," she said, "but we can respond faster than it strikes. Humans act on intuition and observation. That is our advantage." She and her team implemented rapid response protocols, linking the shield generators to sensors that could anticipate bursts milliseconds before impact. The shields pulsed in sync with the radiation, adapting in real time. The alien engineers stared, realizing that human methods combined logic with instinct, a capability they had never fully mastered. As the hours passed, the team moved from planet to planet, protecting settlements, rerouting energy flows, and stabilizing infrastructure. The work was exhausting, but morale remained high. Humans thrived under pressure, their confidence contagious. Alien engineers began assisting actively, following human instructions rather than questioning them, a sign of earned trust. At one point, a massive radiation surge threatened two planets simultaneously. Timing and coordination would decide the outcome. Alara stood at the central command station, monitoring both planets' shields. "We split energy distribution," she instructed. "Half to the northern generators, half to the southern. Ryan, synchronize pulses to prevent overlap. Everyone else monitor feedback loops constantly." The team executed flawlessly. The first surge struck, absorbed by the shields. The second followed, and again the network held. For the first time, alien engineers witnessed humans handling multiple simultaneous threats with precision and calm. By the end of the operation, the Violen system was stabilized. The planets glowed softly under the protective fields, cities functioning safely, and life continuing without interruption. The humans had achieved what others deemed impossible, earning respect and admiration from allies and observers alike. Alara gathered her team, exhausted but resolute. "This is what humans do," she said. "We face what others fear. We adapt, act, and protect. That is our strength." Even alien leaders approached, their expressions a mixture of relief and awe. One, a tall being with wings like liquid glass, said, "Commander Alara, humans have done what generations of our engineers could not. You protect life with courage and ingenuity. Your species is remarkable." Alara nodded. "It is not just courage," she said. "It is preparation, observation, and the willingness to act when action is necessary. That is what makes humans capable of extraordinary things." As the team prepared to leave the system, the galaxy beyond stretched into the unknown. Other unstable systems awaited, and the humans were gaining a reputation. News of their successes traveled fast, and even the most skeptical councils began to consult them before attempting risky interventions. Lieutenant Ryan spoke quietly. "Commander, do you think humans can truly change the galaxy? So many systems, so many dangers." Alara's gaze swept across the stars. "Humans do not wait for permission. We act where others hesitate, we adapt where others fail, and we think where others panic. Step by step, system by system, we make a difference. The galaxy will not forget us, not because we are the strongest, but because we are willing to act." The ship entered warp speed, leaving the Violen system behind. Alara's mind already calculated the next steps. Other planets, other civilizations, other crises awaited. Each mission would test human skill, courage, and ingenuity even further. For the first time, humans were recognized not as a minor species, but as leaders capable of protecting the galaxy itself. And Commander Alara at the helm knew that this was only the beginning of humanity's journey. The stars outside stretched into long streaks, each representing a challenge, an opportunity, and a chance to prove humanity's worth. Alara smiled faintly, a quiet confidence reflecting in her eyes. Humanity had arrived among the stars, not as spectators, but as active participants, shaping the destiny of civilizations. And with each mission, each challenge overcome, the galaxy learned something new. Humans were not only survivors, they were a force for change, bold enough to face the impossible and brilliant enough to succeed. The galaxy was watching. Commander Alara knew it. Reports of human ingenuity and courage had spread to the farthest reaches of interstellar space. Systems that once ignored humanity now sought their guidance. Yet Alara understood that recognition alone was not enough. To secure humanity's place in the galaxy, they had to face a challenge unlike any before, a threat that would test intelligence, courage, and leadership across multiple star systems simultaneously. The alert came from the Galactic Monitoring Network. A rogue cluster of unstable stars, known as the Nearth Expanse, was on a collision course with inhabited systems. The energy surges from the stars were unpredictable, capable of devastating multiple planetary cores and wiping out entire civilizations if left unchecked. The Council convened an emergency session, but as usual, debates and discussions delayed action. Alara, watching the data unfold, realized that waiting would be fatal. She addressed the Terran delegation. "This is it," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "The Nearth Expanse will affect dozens of systems in days if we do not act. We cannot wait for consensus. We go now and we act boldly." Lieutenant Ryan and the other team members nodded. Their confidence had grown with every mission, and they trusted Alara's judgment completely. The humans were no longer novices. They were a force capable of solving problems others deemed impossible. The Terran fleet assembled. It was small compared to the fleets of other civilizations, but its advantage lay not in numbers, but in coordination and human adaptability. Each ship carried engineers, scientists, and strategists prepared to deploy rapidly across multiple planets. As they entered the Nearth Expanse, the scale of the challenge became clear. Massive stars, glowing with unpredictable energy, filled the void. Radiation storms erupted from their surfaces, striking planets and moons in waves. Entire systems trembled under the chaos. Alien ships, deployed by other species, had already been damaged, and attempts to stabilize the stars had failed. Alara activated the main console, bringing up real-time projections of the affected systems. "We will divide our resources," she said. "Teams will deploy to the most threatened planets first. Shields must be erected, energy stabilized, and population safety ensured. Timing will be critical. We act in synchronization, not in isolation." The human teams split across the expanse, each led by a skilled commander trained under Alara's methods. Lieutenant Ryan took one fleet to the Solara sector, where a dense planetary cluster faced multiple radiation pulses. Alara led the central team, coordinating operations from the flagship's bridge. The first planets were already under attack. Radiation from nearby stars had caused power failures, fires, and collapsing infrastructure. Humans deployed rapidly, setting up adaptive shield networks capable of absorbing unpredictable energy surges. The alien engineers assigned to these planets were initially skeptical, but Alara's calm instructions and precise strategy inspired confidence. "Link your shields to the sensor grid," Alara commanded. "Do not wait for predicted surges. React as the energy comes. Adjust dynamically. Humans act not by waiting, but by observing and responding." The shields pulsed in rhythm with the incoming radiation. The first surge struck, and the shields absorbed it, protecting entire cities from destruction. Citizens looked up in awe at the strange humans, coordinating their survival from distant ships and nearby planetary installations. As the first threat subsided, a more dangerous challenge emerged. The core of one of the stars was destabilizing, causing gravitational waves that threatened to shift planetary orbits. If the planets moved even slightly, entire civilizations could be lost. Alara studied the readings carefully. We cannot move the stars, but we can stabilize the planets, she said. We will deploy gravitic stabilizers, human technology enhanced by collaboration with local engineers. They will maintain orbital positions until the star's activity subsides. Teams across multiple planets implemented the stabilizers. Massive machines anchored into the planetary crust, generating fields that countered the gravitational fluctuations. Alien engineers were amazed at the speed and efficiency of human coordination. Every adjustment was precise, every deployment synchronized across light minutes of distance. Hours stretched into cycles as the Neurith expanse continued to unleash its fury. Radiation pulses came unpredictably, gravity waves shifted without warning, and communication delays tested the humans' ability to think ahead. Yet they adapted, recalibrating shields, redistributing energy, and coordinating movements with unmatched precision. Ilara's calm and decisive leadership became the anchor for all operations. "We do not panic," she said over the fleet's comms. "We observe, calculate, and act. Humans succeed where hesitation fails." One particularly massive surge struck the central system, threatening 3 planets simultaneously. Alarms blared, shields flickered, and the energy feedback threatened to overload the stabilizers. "Split energy output between the northern and southern generators," Ilara instructed. "Ryan, synchronize pulses. The rest of you monitor feedback loops. Adjust instantly. We cannot fail." The team executed flawlessly. The surge hit, shields absorbed the energy, and the stabilizers held. The cities trembled, lights flickered, but no destruction occurred. Alien observers finally understood why humans were now regarded as leaders rather than minor species. By the 3rd cycle, the worst of the Neurith expanse's energy had been absorbed and stabilized. The stars calmed, and the planetary systems were safe. Humans had acted decisively where others hesitated, demonstrating ingenuity, courage, and teamwork on a scale never seen before. The council, which had watched cautiously from afar, convened immediately. Alien leaders, previously skeptical, now approached Ilara and her team with admiration. "You have saved entire systems," one said, a being with translucent wings that shimmered like starlight. "We underestimated humans. You acted where others faltered, and lives were preserved because of your species." Ilara nodded. "It is not about being stronger or faster," she said. "It is about acting when action is required, thinking when others hesitate, and adapting when others are rigid. That is what humans bring to the galaxy." Lieutenant Ryan smiled. "Commander, I never imagined humans could achieve this scale of coordination. Entire star systems stabilized in just a few cycles. We've really proven ourselves." Ilara's gaze swept across the bridge, where humans and allied alien engineers worked side by side. "We've only begun," she said. "The galaxy is full of challenges. But today, humanity has shown that courage, intelligence, and action can overcome even the most impossible obstacles." Reports soon arrived from across the galaxy. Civilizations previously isolated or skeptical of humans now sought collaboration. Invitations came to share technology, join exploratory missions, and lead stabilization efforts. Recognition was no longer enough. Humans were now trusted partners, capable of influencing decisions that would shape entire star systems. Ilara allowed herself a quiet moment, watching the stars through the viewport. Each twinkle represented a system, a civilization, a challenge. And humanity was now an active part of that network, a species recognized not only for survival, but for leadership. "We have earned a place among the stars," she said softly, almost to herself. "Not because we demanded it, but because we proved ourselves." As the Terran fleet set course for the next mission, Ilara reflected on the journey. Humans had arrived among the stars as underestimated observers. Through bold action, quick thinking, and unwavering courage, they had transformed from a minor species into a force capable of protecting civilizations, stabilizing dying systems, and earning the galaxy's trust. The universe was vast, filled with mysteries, dangers, and opportunities. Yet for the first time, humanity was ready not just to survive, but to shape the future of countless worlds. Ilara turned to her crew. "Rest well for now," she said. "But remember, the galaxy will continue to challenge us, and humans will continue to rise. Every system we touch, every civilization we protect is proof that we belong here, not as spectators, but as leaders." The humans smiled, tired but determined. For them, this was more than a mission. It was a legacy, a demonstration that courage, intelligence, and teamwork could achieve what no one else dared attempt. As the stars stretched into streaks of light, the Terran fleet accelerated toward new systems, carrying the knowledge that humanity had earned its place in the galaxy. They had faced impossible odds, survived unpredictable threats, and emerged as heroes, not because they were the strongest, but because they acted when action was required, thought when others hesitated, and adapted when others could not. Commander Alara watched the stars, confident that this was only the beginning. Humanity's journey among the stars was far from over. New challenges would arise, new threats would appear, and new civilizations would need guidance. But one thing was certain: wherever humans went, hope, ingenuity, and courage would follow. And for the first time in galactic history, the stars themselves seemed to recognize it. Humanity had arrived, not as a minor species, but as a force capable of shaping the galaxy.